You bury all those unpleasant things, human being of earth, which you dislike in yourself.
When I was a teenager, my older sister told me that the things that annoy me about another person are usually those things in myself that I need to work on. She claimed that others were reflecting my own shortcomings like a mirror. By looking carefully at my own thoughts and behavior, I noticed that there could be some truth to that statement in some instances, but certainly not in all situations. Recently, I found the following article in Billy's book, Laws and Recommendations of the Behavior Gesetz Angebot des Verhaltens, pages 218 to 221, which sheds a light on what might be happening when someone rubs us the wrong way.
89. You bury all those unpleasant things, human being of earth, which you dislike in yourself, and thereby you see in other human beings that which you hide in yourself from yourself. Namely, the fact is that you project that which you do not like about yourself onto your fellow human being, be it a partner, a friend, an acquaintance, or one or more fellow human beings with whom you are in any kind of relationship or contact. That which you think you are, you see in someone else, but you suppress your thoughts and feelings with regard to that. If you thus see a good and positive characteristic in another but do not think that you are capable of it, then the reason for this is that you unconsciously suppress it, namely because due to unconscious thoughts and feelings of being at fault, you fear that you could not sustain this characteristic. But you may also be tempted to avoid the envy of one or more other human beings, but the possibility also exists that you do not act out the good and positive characteristic out of fear because you think that you are ahead of others through this special ability and thus harm and frighten them. At any rate, through one form or another you deny your ability even though it rests within you and is waiting to be mobilized and applied by you. If this fact did not exist, it would be impossible for you to perceive and also really recognize the same ability in another human being. And as it is with good and positive things in this regard in the same form, so it is with bad and negative things which you perceive and recognize in others and which correspond exactly to that which you assume and think you know in relation to yourself. When you become conscious of these connections, then you are able to forgive yourself for the bad and negative things that exist in you, which leads to the fact that the bad and negative things in other human beings no longer bother you. Since that which you see in another human being is exactly that which you think in regard to yourself, it is extremely necessary that you do not pass judgment on the other human being, but that you change your opinion of him or her in such a form that you see him or her in his or her own individuality, personality, as well as in his or her own character, virtues, and behavior. Therefore you must not project your own image onto him or her, but you must only see his or hers. But if you do not act in this form, then you cling to the image you have created of the other person. You are no longer able to detach yourself from him or her, and thus end up with an attitude and situation in which you see yourself as a victim, and you also behave as such. You can only be prepared to change your wrong assessment of the other human being and forgive him or her for that which you unjustly attach to him or her if you perceive the other human being as that which he or she really is. That alone is the way that leads you in the direction of letting the good and positive side of your inner nature come to the surface, so that this side alone determines your opinion and behavior. If you let the good and positive side of your being come to the fore, you will be able to express your grateful appreciation to the one or several human beings who inspire you with special values. Be grateful that the gift of being able to inspire has been kept alive in the other or others, for only through this can it become clear to you that the special ability to inspire is possible at all, namely not only in the one or several human beings but also in yourself. As a result, you too can inspire one or several other human beings with your inner nature, your individuality, and with your ideas. If, however, you are inspired in a good and positive form by another about whom you make a wrong assessment, then express your gratitude and respect to him or her for this, because your recognition of the other and his or her inspirational value carries you beyond all that which you make as an assessment about him or her, and this is then precisely the beginning of the unfolding of a new and good interpersonal relationship. In this regard, always consider that if you recognize another person as innocent, thereby you likewise free yourself from a wrong assessment. Therefore you must make yourself innocent by also recognizing the one or other human beings as innocent in relation to your own image that you project onto and into him or her or them. To recognize one or more human beings as innocent makes you innocent and free, namely because by recognizing the innocence of one or others, you free yourself from your own hidden fault. From that fault with which you burden yourself because you transfer what you yourself are as an image onto the others and then make an assessment on the others in this respect. If you become aware of your fault, you feel that you are unworthy, and it is precisely that which awakens in you a willingness to be a victim, which makes you punish yourself again and again in some form. Therefore it is an undeniable fact that if you find one or more human beings to be at fault, you are punishing yourself. But if you are prepared to regard the other person's error as simply an error, and the human being himself or herself as innocent, be it with your partner, a friend, acquaintance, or any other fellow human being, then you free yourself and make yourself innocent. Learn to understand that the other human being is always only doing his or her best as is within his/her capacity and in his or her power. You have to consider this quite especially with regard to his or her thought-feeling-based, psychical and consciousness-based burden, but also with regard to the external circumstances which also play a decisive role. If support and friendly and loving care is needed, then you should not refuse it, but give it as help, and do not complain while doing so. Always find out within yourself where you see another or several human beings as being in the wrong, or whether you simply see him or her or them as bad and at fault. And find out within yourself in what form you punish yourself when you judge another or several other human beings as being at fault. Perceive very attentively in yourself what you are doing when you suddenly realize what punishment you are inflicting on yourself. If this punishment does not correspond to that which you really want, then be prepared to view the one or all the other human beings as innocent, because only therethrough can you free yourself through your own innocence, precisely because you no longer offload fault onto the one or other human beings. Therefore follow this instruction, human being of earth, because it alone is the way on which you can move towards your own innocence, and you can see yourself as innocent as well as the one or the other human beings with whom you have contact. And only if you pay attention to these words and act sincerely according to them can you be free with the other person, a partner, a friend, acquaintance, or with any other fellow human being, and step into the future as an ally with him or her in love, freedom, peace, and harmony.
You bury all those unpleasant things, human being of earth, which you dislike in yourself. To me, that means that I have to unbury or dug up the things I dislike in myself so that I can let go of them and are no longer bothered by them. According to Billy, we can only perceive and really recognize abilities in another person which also rest in us and are waiting to be mobilized, and that applies to the positive and the negative. So if we perceive and recognize a negative thing in another person, to me, that means that I have the very same capacity for that negative thing or characteristic in me, but that it is up to me how I deal with it. I could act on it, I could feel annoyed and victimist, or I could even attack the other person and try to change that person. But once we understand that we are reacting to a reflection, it would be much better to find out what we assume and think to know regarding ourselves and deal with it. For example, if it is possible that I am reflecting arrogance on another person because I have that same capacity in me, then I need to become aware of my error and forgive myself for it, which will then translate into no longer being bothered by arrogance in another person. And it is important not to pass judgment on another person, because if that which we judge in another person is actually linked to our own inner self, then by judging the other person we are judging ourselves, and we are punishing ourselves by thinking that one or more human beings are at fault. You can only be prepared to change your false judgment of the other human being and forgive him or her for that which you unjustly attach to him or her if you perceive the other human being as that which he or she really is. Therefore, we must let go of our perception of the other person and see them for who they really are. Human beings who want to find happiness, just like you and me. If I notice a positive quality in another person, it is showing me that I have that very same quality in me and that I have the opportunity to work on it and let it shine. To put that into practice, I can develop grateful appreciation, which means appreciating the good quality that is shown to me and striving to develop it further in myself and inspire my fellow human beings to do the same. If we express our gratitude and respect them, it will be the beginning of a new and good interpersonal relationship.
Wimper Walter